Why, Mr. Grotto, we really must stop meeting like this, so people are going to speak. Uh, anyway, here we go, right? This week we have some Grotto GH2s. Don't think I've done these before, so this is going to be an exciting mystery box of fun. As you can see, again, I have the warming plate out. I'm getting my technique down now. All of these Grottos need a good old warm up before you can get into them. So I've got that out, and again, it's very cold in the office, so it's nice, woohoo, nice and warm. Right, okay. Anyway, enough dicking around. Let's have a look. Okay, pads off, nice and easy. Again, slightly different pad design on these. And again, pads are used for tuning, so changing the pads will affect the sound a bit. Take this pad off as well. And again, the reason why I've got these in is because for some reason on a lot of the Grottos you have quite a chunky cable, and because these ear cups spin all the way around, the cable gets all twisted up and it's a bit annoying. So again, same as before, we're going to fit 2.5s. These have got the plastic yokes, so getting the ear cups off shouldn't be too difficult. There's one. Let's get the other one off. I'm just kind of stretching the pins out of the little locating what's-its. Okay, and then we can have a look at the business end of these things. Okay, so nice wooden ear cups. So slightly harder wood on these than the PS1000s, which was very soft and easy to break. It does look like, I suspect what we're going to do is we're going to heat up this area. So I suspect this is held in with glue, and then we can push that through and poke the ends out. But you know, as we're in and we're going to do this, I might as well cut the cable off and poke that through first, because that will get it out of the way. So get that off, pop that on the warmer, and also, you know, once you cut, there's no turning back. You've got to succeed. So obviously now I can't fail. This is it. I'm gonna do it. Right. Okay. So we've got the old cable. We may be converting this one to 2.5mm. What I might do this time is kind of strip this back a bit and maybe cover it in something a bit nicer, which will make it less weird. Right, so in these we've got 4 wires. I noticed in the PS1000 they actually had 6 wires in there, so more cores in the very high-end headphones. But that should be sufficient. They're relatively chunky wires. Alright, let's see if I can find something to poke the wire through. Just going to poke that through there so it doesn't get in the way. Oh, so far everything's gone well. The wire poked through nicely. Right, so the reason that I'm doing that is because if I poke this grill in, I've tried it before with the wire in, and the wire catches on the grill there, and you can't poke it through as easily. So I'm hoping to doing it like this. Let's just see, are they glued in? They're probably glued in. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that warmed up. I've got my my heating bed set to about 90 degrees, because these are wooden ear cups. I don't have to really worry about the drivers getting too hot or anything, and 90 degrees should be fine. I think anything up to about 150 and you should be right. Anything over that, I don't know, because I don't know what material these are made of, so it's always worth being cautious. Anyway, I'm gonna leave those on there just to get the grills to warm up, and we'll come back in 10 minutes, and hopefully they'll just come apart. Everything will be super easy. Let's hope. All right, see you in a minute. Let's have a look. Should be a bit warmer now. I'm just applying a bit of pressure to the edges of the grill to see if it'll release. Oh, there we go. Nearly. Bit more heat. Let's just try the other one. Ooh, there we go, that's that side come off. Oh, it's really hot. should really learn my lessons. Again, it's come off one side and not the other, but a bit more heat on there, that'll come off. Yeah, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the other side up and get some of this glue out from around here. So anything that I can pick out with a scalpel or whatever will help. Obviously I don't want to damage the wood. But getting those a bit warm, it's going to soften that glue a bit, and then I can poke it through from the other side. Sorry, can't speak this morning. Right, but yes, I can poke it through from the other side. So yeah, another couple of minutes on the warming bed. Right, so now you can see I've got the grills detached. Again, it's caught on the cable slightly, but that's just how it is. But at least I can apply some pressure from the rear to pop the driver out. They've literally just been on this side a couple of minutes because I don't want to get the driver too warm. So I'm just going to work away at the glue a little bit with a scalpel. But yeah, just a little bit of warmth in there helps it come away nicely. And what I'm probably going to do is take it easy, pick away at a little bit, put it back on the warming bed. Quite a lot of picking away. I think these should be ready to pop out now. There's not much glue left. Come on, you bugger. Oh, I've got some movement. I can see an edge. An edge coming up there. Oh. There we go. Oh! Bleeding my own blood. Right, so that's one of them out. That's a squad. Oh, it's quite interesting. It's got a break in one of the wires in there. It's not soldered on. Well, these are obviously built on a Friday afternoon. not as much love has gone into this pair. So that's the grill, ever so slightly pringled, but we can straighten that out. And also, it was all scratched up, so we might be able to fill that in with a bit of Sharpie or something just to make that look sexy again. Oh, it's got some hot glue or something on there. Right, take that off. So you can see they'd used a lot of glue on this pair. It totally depends with the Grados, as far as I can tell, who it is that built them. Most of the headphones that we deal with are hand built, so you'll see little variations from unit to unit. And obviously some people in the Grado factory prefer a bit more, to really glue it in there good and proper, which is good. It's going to seal it nicely. But makes it a bit of a nightmare to get them apart. But I think these are entirely possible. Right? Anyone can do these ones. It's just, you just need to warm up the glue, pick it out. Just takes some time to do. It's not particularly difficult. It's just time consuming. Oh, that one came out nicely. It's just time consuming. So there we have our drivers. I'm going to put those aside for now. Okay, so we're going to have so as you can see inside the ear cap, the grills are just held in with hot glue, so I'm going to have to clean out some of that. I'm going to clean out some of this so the drivers go back in nicely, and then we can reseal it. But we're going to do the same as we've done on the other ones. Cut a little pocket in there to fit a 2.5mm socket in, which I should have over here somewhere. Yeah, so these are the sockets that we're going to use. Just because these have been pretty good so far. That's going to go in there. Yeah, so clean the glue out, Dremel a little hole so that sits in there nicely, and then we're going to wang them back together. So let's do this thing. Okay, I think I might as well Dremel it first and then clean it up. Clean up the glue. Okay, so I'm just using I don't know, let's have a look. See what bits I've got. Yeah, I'm going to use a little round ball-shaped bit. So now, as you can see, that kind of sits in a little dip in there, and the socket is relatively flush with the face. So now it's just a case of doing the same on the other one and then gluing it all back together. When I put this together, obviously I'm going to have to put the mesh in first, then secure the socket, otherwise I won't be able to get the mesh in after I put the socket in. So it's just a little bit of forward planning, stops you from having a bad time. Alright, so yeah, leave it with me. I'm going to sort that out, and we'll get back for the final bit. So that's all done. Don't know if you can see that, but got the socket in there. So what I've done is I've used a little bit of E6000 glue to join the socket to the wood, and then I've given it a bit of support with some hot glue, just kind of doubling up, just to give the socket a bit more support. Now it is time to solder on some wires and stuff. Right, let's do this thing. Okay. Random spare bits of wire. Let's find some of an appropriate length. Again, you don't want to go too long, otherwise you have lots of wire dangling around inside the ear cup. You don't want to go too short, because you won't be able to get it in there as easily if it's too short. So with all of this, it's worth tinning your wires first. Let's just make 4 roughly the same length. As you can see, I try and use up offcuts from other jobs. It's always worth saving materials. Good for the environment and good for my wallet, because this stuff isn't too cheap. Right, there we go. So we'll just do a little speed up now while I attach these wires.
good grooving, body moving.
Okay, so now we have wires attached, ready to solder in the drivers. And as is my what's it, I like to mark the side that's got the positive just so I remember. Just going to use a pen, doesn't really show up, but it's good enough for this. Right, so again, these have got, this driver has got, let's have a look, just one hole in the tissue there. And again, you've got some shmoo holding the wire onto the back of the driver. But I did notice, as I said, when I open these up, that don't know if you can see that, but this wire isn't fully attached, which is must have been like that from the factory. So this guy, he gets minus points from me. But yeah, again, so they have tuned each of these drivers slightly differently. Would be interesting to try some different drivers in the Grados. I have got a pair of I can't remember, I think RS2s or something, which I could put some different drivers in. We might give that a go at some point. If you'd like to see that, stick a message in the what's it and I'll do that for you. What have I done with that pen? There we go. Right, righty then. I can never remember which one's negative and which one's positive on this, so I'm just going to use the multimeter just to check. Oh, that's not handy. It's that one. Why isn't that working? I just didn't have a good contact. Right, so that's the negative wire. I'm going to solder that one on. Getting these at a bit of an angle so that when you put it back together, it doesn't touch against the housing. That's that one. There's that one, all nicely done. What I'm going to do is when I reassemble it, I'm going to put the opposite side to the socket so that they don't interfere with each other. There we go, that's in. I'm going to press that into place. Oh, is that going? Nope. Oh, whoop. Why isn't that going in? There we go. Right, so that's that one in. It's looking okay. Let's do the other one. Just solder that on. Boom. And this one. So that's all in there, and now I'm just going to seal around the top, make an airtight seal and hold it all in. So I've got the glue gun extra hot, so it flows nicely. There we go. Just wait for that to cool. Right, so there we go. So there we have 2 ear cups with detachable cables. Just need to reassemble it now. But no, obviously I'm going to make the cable, but that's a job for future Jason. I'll do that tomorrow. Alright. Right, there we go. Job's a good one. Well, you've seen how we make the detachable cable mod on the GH2. So that's it really, you know. Feel free to shuffle on to your next video. I'm gonna stick around and just make a nice cable for them. So yeah, if you want to see how that's done, stick around. If not, jog on. Yeah, so blah blah blah, you know, likey, subscribey, blah 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 stuff. Right, cool. It's just the hardcore now. It's just us guys. It's just you and me. We're here for the cable making. So you can't do a mod like that and then just stick with the standard Grado cable because you know, it has some good design features. I'm gonna have to autopsy one for a video soon because I get what they're doing. There's some good design decisions in there, but it's not the most practical of cables. It does tend to kind of get twisted up. It's a little bit too rigid, and it's not the prettiest of cable, which is surprising because obviously they make some very pretty headphones. So anyway, so I'm going to make one of our LITS cables. As you can see, I've already prepared some LITS wire inside some paracord. Our wire is wound in silk fibers, which is what I was just removing there. It's not anything, you know. The silk fibers aren't there to sound fancy. It just holds them together and gives a very, very thin kind of dielectric, and it's got a lot of air gaps in there, so it's mostly air. So it comes on giant reels like this. We buy many kilometers of the stuff. So we're lucky enough to get it made to our own recipe. We get it just like as fat as we can, basically, and still fit in some of the connectors. So I'm just going to tin the ends, which is where you add a little bit of solder to the end of the wire. And when you're tinning lits, it's a bit trickier than standard wire, because every strand of wire is individually insulated. So you need to kind of melt that insulation off to get a good solder joint. So yeah, not the easiest stuff to solder, certainly not the easiest stuff to solder prettily. You know, you're going to get the odd ugly solder joint, but but it gives us the best kind of electrical performance. And I know cables are a bit, you know, contentious, because some people say that they're all nonsense and some people swear by them, and I'm totally in the middle. I'm pretty certain I can hear the difference, but I'm also, you know, an engineer / designer, and I've done the maths, and shouldn't be much, you know, that you can design a cable very badly and you can design a cable very well, but the difference shouldn't be massively audible. I would have thought if you get, like, these are designed, we design these to have very low capacitance, because that seems to me to be the thing that you're most likely to be able to hear the difference on. But yeah, certainly, you know, you see stuff made of with like ground up pearls and all kinds of madness in it, and there's nothing wrong with having a lovely cable that's beautifully made and made of pearl dust, but I'm not 100% convinced that if you pay much over 200 quid, you're going to get much difference between a £100 cable and a £200 cable. But a lot of it is just like on these custom cables like we're making here, they just take a really long time to make, so you're paying a lot for labour. So as you can imagine, threading 4 meters of wire through some paracord takes a while. You've got to do that 4 times for a 4 meter cable. It's an expensive business. Right, hold on, I'm just going to grab some connectors. Alright, I'm back. Alright, so we've got these, which are little 2.5mm connectors, which is what to match the sockets that we put in the ear cups, and the hole on the back of these is very small, so we may have to drill it out to get these through. I'll have to see. Depends. It's borderline. Some colours of paracord you can get through, some you can't. So that's the connectors. These are pretty standard 2.5mm headphone connectors. They're used on things like the HD700 and some of the Oppo headphones. And they've got a bit of an extension there. We don't necessarily need that, but it is actually quite nice on the Grado, because it just it just gets past that lip that's on the ear cup. Okay, so let's give this a go. I'm going to use a bit of thin PTFE tape. Let's just grab some of that. Just to cover, I'm going to stagger the wires like that, so I can get one through, and I can grab hold of that and pull the other one through, hopefully without wrecking everything up. Okay. Don't know if you can hear it, but it's just about dawn here, and I've got seagulls and wood pigeons and stuff hanging out on the roof of our workshop, just saying good morning. So if you hear any weird bird noises, I'm not outside. We're just in this workshop's in an attic, above an old townhouse. Okay. So as you can see, I've got the first one through easy, and then hopefully the PTFE will pull the other one through. There you go. And unwrap that. Right. So that's that through. Just get the other one through. So anyway, while we're here, anything you fancy talking about? I won't be able to hear you, but just shout at the screen. Or mash your face on the keyboard. I'm sure the message will get through. No, leave a message. I tend to answer most messages put through YouTube. If there's anything you'd like to see, we've got a bit of a budget this year for stupid projects, and now the kids have gone back to school and I've got a bit more time. So if there's anything that you'd like to see made or disassembled and investigated audio wise, let me know. I think we've got a budget of probably £1,000 or so to spend on something cool and pull apart and see how it works. Obviously, if you don't get back to me, I'll choose. I don't know. I think we're not officially allowed to mess around with HD800s. Sennheiser only let us mess with certain headphones, but I'm sure we could probably buy one and disassemble it and then just promise not to do anything too mad with it. Because I love that. I like the HD800. Interests me. It is an interesting design. I remember speaking to the designer of it, and it's all very functional. It's not a pretty pair of headphones. It's purposeful, and I don't know how bullshitty the ring driver is, but yeah, it's certainly interesting. I'm going to warm up the glue gun. I put a little bit of solder paste on the wires. I've trimmed them down so they're about the same size as the connector I want to put them on. Just waiting for the soldering iron to heat up a little bit, and then we'll get that on. Once I've done this, I'm going to glue these two strands together so that you can't pull one out without the other, just to make it a bit stronger. We'll see what happens. Okay, nearly there. Oh, there we go. That's hot enough now. Alright, so I'm going to heat the tinned wire and the actual connector at the same time with the soldering iron. Just, you don't want to put, if you don't heat it up, the connector just sucks all the heat out of the solder, and you don't get a good solder joint. Okay. The next one, because it's right by the thread, I'm going to cover the thread with a little bit of PTFE so I don't accidentally get any solder on the thread of the connector. So that's a bit of a nightmare then, because you can't screw it back up. Right, so that's covered up now. Right, for this one, because it's got a bit more thermal mass, I'm going to try and get a little bit of solder onto the actual connector. There we go, that's started to flow. Just going to shrink this down a bit. Yeah, little connectors like this, and we've got quite fat copper. For a headphone cable, it's fatter than most. They're not really designed to take wires this fat. Yeah, I think the cores are around 1mm, but obviously, because it's made up of lots of round strands, it's not an actual millimetre cross-sectional area of copper. It's about as fat as we can fit in most of these. It's really borderline whether you can get these screwed shut once it's soldered on. Right, so that's on there. Okay. Right. Going to do the other one now. Rinse and repeat. So I'm going to put a bit of flux paste on there. Well, if you've stuck around this long, I'm relatively surprised. This isn't very rock and roll. It's not particularly exciting. It's just a dude doing his job, making stuff for people. Well, I suppose my job is probably designing stuff for people, but everyone else is shy, so I'm going to shoot me some videos. Yeah, I don't normally make the cables, if I'm honest. It's not my favourite thing. Eek. Okay. But yeah, obviously I know how to make the cables. It's very important to know how these things are made if you're going to design stuff. I'm quite excited because as soon as lockdown finishes, I've got a couple of new staff joining. Well, I've got 2 new staff already that have joined during lockdown, but I've got a couple more, and then I should be able to have some time to get back to actually designing some crazy stuff. I've got some really interesting headphone designs that I want to try out. We're considering buying a CNC machine so we can start making metal parts in-house, which would be nice. So at the moment we have to get them manufactured, and it takes months, and it just kind of slows down the prototyping. Also, yeah, if you want to get a decent price for the parts, you've got to kind of buy 50 at a time. So it's very difficult. Like, you can 3D print stuff and test it, but then if you want to know how it actually reacts to a metal part, you've got to wait, and you've got to order, £1,000 worth of bits or whatever, only to find out it doesn't quite fit because the 3D print had a bit of flex and the copper doesn't, or something like that. Yeah, I've had a few nightmares. Okay, so that's not soldered nicely. Let's just get that on there a bit better. There we go. That's more like it. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Right. Okay. So just a dab of glue in here, just to join one strand to the other. The idea is, obviously, it fattens it up a bit here, so it's going to be harder to pull through. But also, if you pull on one, the other one's supporting it. There we go. Right, that's that. Now, what I want to do is pull this slack through. This is a 3-meter cable, so you've got quite a lot of wire to. Yeah, so I'm just going to pull some of the slack from this end, work it up the cable. There we go. And then we're going to slide its little boot up. Screw that shut. Okay, that's one. So as you can see, the paracord we use is quite oversized compared to the wire inside. Again, it's to give a bit of an air gap between the cores. So you've got a bit more of an air dielectric, and also separating the cores, you're going to stop one wire from inducing a current in the other, that kind of thing. I've done a few videos on the side. I need to do some more videos. Yeah, I've done a few videos on some of the science behind it, and again, I'm not pretending that it's going to make an audible difference, but it can't hurt. just to get stuff right. Do it as well as you can. Is this one not going to do up? There we go. So if you were going to make a cable like this yourself, I would set aside a couple of hours, definitely. So obviously I've done this quite a few times before, and make fewer mistakes, but it's still a bit tricky. Right, so what I'm going to do is, because this isn't doing up quite as tight as I want, but also I don't want to scratch up the connector. So top tip here, I'm going to get a little bit of shrink tube, which you've probably got knocking around. Pop that over the connector, then I can grab hold of it with the pliers without marking it. Do that up. There we go. Excellent. Right, so now we have these two ends on, and what I'm going to do next is braid it, which is a long and boring process. So we're going to jump, cut, jump. Welcome back, my fine friends. So we have a cable all twisted and braided and generally beautified. So I've just glued this end together. We're going to put on a big old Nutric jack. These are great to work with. Oh, so nice. Some of the connectors we have to deal with, like 2.5mm balance ones and HD800 connectors, they're horrible. But this is nice. It's a professional jack designed for normal human people to put together rather than the machine. So you've got big old chunky connectors on there, big chunky places to solder your stuff to. And I'm going to get the multimeter warmed up. Set to continuity, so we can figure out what wire goes where. Okay, so here's our cable. We got our 4 wires, so you're going to have 2 ground wires and 2 positive wires. Get the soldering iron warmed up, turn off the glue gun. Should have probably done all this stuff beforehand. So anyway, so again I'm gonna just remove some of the silk fibers from the end. Makes it easier to solder. Ooh. So I should really have some sharp scissors. There we go. And yeah, I've got to tin these. And what you've got to look out for on these jacks, when you're soldering the ground, you've got a lot of metal here that can absorb the heat, take it away from the solder. So it can be difficult to solder to it, because as soon as the solder touches it, it'll solidify. So the secret really is to get this bit hot and actually apply a bit of solder to where you're going to attach the wire, and then it'll all melt together nicely. But yeah, definitely get the solder to stick to the connector first, get it to flow onto the surface nicely. It's nearly hot enough. There we go. Right, just going to tin these. Just holding a bead of solder on the end of the Litz wire. I'm waiting for it to wick up. Just feeding it a bit more. There we go, so that's got all the bits of wire soldered together. Move on to the next one. Again, bead of solder. Hopefully, like I don't know. If you want to see a proper video on how we make cables, I can do that. You know, there's no secrets, really. It's just a lot of time and effort. And yeah, it's always really interesting seeing feedback from customers, because obviously, like the spec of our cable is pretty good. You know, if you it measures favourably against other cables. Whether you can hear a difference is debatable. I'm pretty certain you can, but lots of people say you can't, and that's that's probably right. I don't know. There's probably a bit of placebo in there, but also, you know, these have got very low capacitance and inductance and stuff. But yeah, it's always interesting because you get some people that go, "Oh, how can you charge £100 for a bit of wire?" And I'm like, "Well, it just takes a really long time to make, you know." But then you get other people surprised that we can do it so cheaply. So it's it's difficult. You can't win. But yeah, I don't know. I think one day, when we have a bit more time, we might do a couple more ranges of cables. Because at the moment, our main range is just a, you know, electrically very good cable that looks vaguely pretty. And I think we'll do maybe one above that costs a bit more and has got slightly, you know, like fancier connectors and maybe looks even fancier. And then we'll do one below that, which is kind of just get it done. But I don't know if there's, don't know, because there's a lot of other companies making cables, and some of them making cheap ones, and some of them making expensive ones, and we've kind of found our little niche somewhere in the middle where you get some of the advantages of the expensive ones, but not a crazy price. But we do often get asked if we can make, you know, something a bit fancier. So might see how that goes. Right, so I'm just using the multimeter to figure out which are the ground wires and attaching those to either side of the little bit on the back of the jack here. Again, just holding the soldering on there a bit longer because of the thermal mass of the thing. Okay, so next we want to find, well, we haven't marked left and right, so it doesn't really matter. So we can put these in either, and then we'll figure out which is left and right afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to put one on the center pin there. And again, I'm going to heat up the pin and the solder and feed in a bit more solder as we go. Just until it flows nicely. To hold that down. Ooh, there we go. That's a beautiful thing. Right. I'm going to solder the other one to the underside of this. Right, so those are all soldered in place securely. Now we're going to stick on the strain relief. We're nearly there. On the home stretch now. Finally we can plug these into the headphones once they're done. Okay, putting the little chuck on there. This kind of clamps down around the cable and stops it from being pulled out. Put that over the top. Slide up the boot. Makes a nice satisfying clicky sound. These are lovely jacks. Like, you know, I've played with some more expensive ones, and I don't know if they're actually any better. But these are really just nicely made and indestructible. You know, really solidly made. Fair play, New Trick. You make some nice stuff, right? So that's that. Now, I am a little bit concerned because obviously we haven't got a clamp or anything around these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of shrink over these and glue it here. So you've got some glue there, some glue there. That's going to join the two together so that if someone yanks the cable, it's not going to pull out of the connector. Like, I doubt it would come out anyway, but it's no harm in doubling up. So just tiny little smear of glue in that groove there, just enough to hold it together. Got a little bit down there. And we're going to do the same on the other one. So a little bit of glue. So what I'm trying to do is put glue, you know, 5mm or so below the connector so that it can be repaired. It's very important to make your stuff repairable and serviceable. Because if you should break it in the future, you don't want to have to just throw it away, because that's a waste of materials. Right, okay, so I'm gonna get about that much. So I've got some shrink that's about the right size, I'm hoping. So we get that straight. And ooh, dude, that's all guns are not straight. So I get a bit OCD about this now. Alright, and cut. Okay. Hopefully that's going to go over the glue. It is. Huzzah. Alright, that's that one. Trying to get them vaguely even. Hot air. Let's shrink that down. So there's the connectors. As you can see, I've put it up over a little bit so it's folded over the top. Yeah, so that's not going anywhere now. That's glued and shrunk and everything. But it does mean that if something does break, we can cut that open and repair that, which is nice. Yeah, using the hot glue means that when we come to repair it, we can just heat it up. It all comes away. I know hot glues, some people don't like it, but it's good for it's quick. You can undo it. It's got an undo feature, which is nice. Okay, so now what we need to do is figure out which is left and which is right, which is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to pop a probe on the tip and check the tips of these. There we go. So that means that that's the left one. And again, to keep it all kind of subtle, because we've got greys and blacks. I don't necessarily want to put any red on there. Don't know, or should I? Is it going to be too confusing? But I was just going to put a clear band around that one so you could tell that it was the left. And that when that dries, it kind of goes a bit white, which I hope is obvious that it denotes left. Okay, we're just going to do a little bit of branding here. So I've just got some shrink tube with our logo on. Cut that down a little bit. Now then, this shrink is actually slightly too small to get over that jack, but only slightly. So here's a top tip. You can actually stretch it a little bit. So I'm just going to pop it on the scissors. Apply a bit of outward pressure. Okay, a little bit more further down. Now I should be able to get that on if I'm quick before it shrinks back down. Don't think I stretched it enough. Come on. That's it. There. A little bit more. Alright, cool. Shrink that badger. There we go, one relatively sexy cable. Right. Okay, let's get the headphones and see how it looks. Okay. Click. Click. There we go, look at that. That's what we're talking about. Sexy. So there we go. So some Grado GH2s converted to take a nice detachable cable. The other advantage of doing a detachable cable mod is this could easily have been a balanced cable. So if you get a balanced amp, you could just change the connector on that, because we've done 4 wires, so it can be balanced. What I might do is neaten up this mesh a bit with a bit of black, matte black pen, which will cover up the bits where the black's worn off. But that's basically it. I would be very surprised if anyone's watched up this far, but if you have, thank you. You've increased my watch time, which YouTube loves a bit of, and it's been nice to hang out. Love you guys. Anyway, stick a comment in the thing, do a thing, watch some more things, things. Alright, bye.